Sound check, 1, 2, 3, sound check.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of our Hamilton Municipal Heritage Committee to order. Just a reminder that all electronic devices are to be switched to a non-audible function during our committee meetings. Please note that quorum is present. So as we go through our roll call, if I can just get you to turn on your microphones as we go through and just let us know that you're here. Councillor Cameron Kretsch, Karen Burke, Graham Carroll.
Present.
Andrew Douglas.
Present.
Lynn Ludstead. Present. Andy McLaren.
Present.
Stefan Spalnick.
Present.
We'll begin our meeting with some ceremonial activities. We have our HMHC Heritage Recognition Award celebration. So we just wanted to do a little precursor to this. We had our celebration on June 13th, and it was a fantastic event. We had 22 award winners over 11 categories, and we wanted to highlight one winner that wasn't able to join us for that event. We have a presentation of our Conservation Recognition Awards, so I think there's some slides that we'll put up. This year we had 5 properties. We'll just wait for those slides to come up. So our first property that was in that category so again, our Heritage Property Conservation Awards are highlighting excellence in conservation. So we presented an award to 176 Wilson Street East in Ancaster, which is known as Birch Lawn. Um, 988 Concession Street in Hamilton, known as the Kerr House. 337 Park Street West in Dundas. And then the Scott Barnum Pottery, which was the Walter Chisholm Lang House at 15 Park Street in Dundas. So today we'd like to make a special presentation to our 5th Conservation Award winner in this category, and that is for 67 Rosedene. So I'd like to ask Graham if he could make his presentation.
Okay, this is a house I pass often. When I walk down here to City Hall, it's on my route by, and I stop and admire it. I cannot believe how well kept it is. Donna McCarty, who is here today, and her husband well maintained this house. They've now owned it for 25 years, and they keep it up absolutely in immaculate condition, as you can see from this picture. The house is unusual in the Hamilton Mountain, being an Edwardian. There's not a lot on the mountain, maybe 6 or 7 others that I know of. So we know the house was built before 1916, but that is the first time that we can find a reference to it in any city directories. That's the first time Rosedene Avenue shows up. And when you look at the 27 aerial of the area, there's not a lot of houses around it. It's just a beautiful place. So if Donna can come down, I'd like to hand you your award. Thank you so much for looking after the property. I really appreciate it. But, well, it's not much, but it's a little thank you for looking after the property. And inside here, there's a couple of other little things, including like a little coloring book that we have for a whole bunch of heritage properties.
Okay,
Thank you very much. I really love how you look after that property.
Thank you very much for the
very
nomination. I
welcome.
really appreciate it.
Oh,
Thank you.
I
My husband
couldn't
does all the work, so
You
I'll
can
be
even
happy
say a
with this.
couple words about your house
Okay.
if you like.
Sure. So we bought the property in 1999, so 25 years ago. We're from Niagara. I grew up in St. Catharines, just on the cusp of Niagara and the Lake. So we just moved to Hamilton because I live at or work at McMaster University. We had a friend that lived in Rosedene Avenue and kind of looked at this neighborhood. And this house was up for sale privately. So we got to know the previous owners who owned it for about 15 years. We just love the layout. There's 3 floors, love the neighborhood. And like I said, my husband and I really enjoy kind of maintaining the original kind of layout and design of the home. So we really appreciate this award. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Gonna listen as well.
Sure.
Oh.
We now move on to our approval of our agenda. Mr. Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda today?
Yes, Madam Chair. Under item 13, general information, other business. 13.2, we have provided the event program and presentation for the Hamilton Municipal Heritage Committee's Heritage Recognition Awards, which was held on June 13, 2024.
May I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I see Graham and Andrew.
And as we move to vote, is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, that item is carried. Under declarations of interest, do we have any declarations today? Oh, and I see Councillor Danko has joined us.
Thank you, Councillor Danko. We have done the award, presented the award, but if you wanted to say something, you could do so. They're still in at 10. No, sorry, they have left.
Okay, no problem. I'll reach out to them directly. Thanks so much.
Thank you for joining us, Councillor. We had no declarations of interest. We now move on to the approval of minutes from the previous meeting. May I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented for May 24th, 2024.
I see Stefan and Lynn.
And as we move to vote, is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, that item is carried. Under staff presentations 8.1, we have a recommendation to designate 340 Dundas Street East in Flamborough, which is the Acre House, under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act, PED 24106 and Ward 15. Scott Dickinson, Cultural Heritage Planning Technician, is here to give a presentation. Welcome, Scott.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Scott Dickinson with Report PED 24106, the recommendation to designate 340 Dundas Street East, Flamborough, known as the Eager House. There we go. This property is located on the southwestern corner of Dundas Street East and Reynolds Street in the neighborhood known as Vinegar Hill in the community of Waterdown. This property was listed on the Municipal Heritage Register in 2019 and added to staff's designation work plan, and in March 2023 was reprioritized for designation by January 1st, 2025, in response to the changes wrought to the Ontario Heritage Act by Bill 23. Staff recommend designation for this property under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act, as it meets 7 of the 9 criteria laid out under Ontario Regulation 9-06. And this image that you see here is an original plan drawn up in the 1870s for the construction of this home. More on that in a moment. This property has design value as it is a representative example of a Gothic revival structure. It consists of a 2-story parged stone dwelling built circa 1871. The architectural features typical of the Gothic revival style include the steeply pitched gable roof and the decorative barge boarding, of which you can see part of in this photo from the 1980s. Other notable features include the stone facades, the parged stone facades, the central entrance with sidelights and transom, and the decorative gabled front porch, pictured here, with the sun and ray wooden motif. This property also displays a high degree of craftsmanship through those decorative barge boards and this highly decorative wooden front porch. This property has historical value. It has direct associations with the Eager family, who resided in this home for more than a century and who operated a local general store. In 1871, Joseph Culloden Eager and his son James Eager, pictured here, purchased this property to be the new family home. Or rather, they purchased the land in order to build this house to be the family home. In 1880, they purchased the existing Griffin General Store. The general store building is still extant. It is just to the west of this house, on the other side of the Grindstone Creek Bridge. The Eager family operated the general store for 3 generations until 1924, and the family continued to reside in this home until 1989. This property also demonstrates the work of prominent Hamilton architect William Leith and of local water-down builder John Reed, who is responsible not for the construction of the house, but for the building of that decorative wooden porch, the sun and rain motif, sometime around 1912. And we have a fair number of historic images of this property. You can see it in the lower left-hand picture, and just in the upper center, just above the sawmills, which used to line this section of Grindstone Creek. You can just see the peaks of the gable roofs there. And then the upper picture is a close-up of a shot of the old Grindstone Creek Bridge with this house rising just above the treetops. And there's the full version of that photograph. This property helps define the historic character of Vinegar Hill. This late 19th century two-story structure exists as a critical component of the local streetscape, which comprises 1 to 2-story dwellings, which have build dates from between the mid-19th century and the modern day. It acts as a signpost or a gateway demarking the difference between the historic commercial core of Waterdown, just to the west across the Grindstone Creek Bridge, and as a gateway to the more modern residential developments just to the east at First Street. This property is visually, historically, and functionally linked to its surroundings, being located on its original site along the historic transportation corridor of Dundas Street East, and also along the historic waterway of Grindstone Creek. Given its prominent location and its nature as a sort of gateway into Vinegar Hill, this property is considered to be a local landmark. Those foregoing criteria are summarized here in the Statement of Cultural Heritage Value or Interest. The full version of this statement, of course, is in Report PED 24-106. This description of heritage attributes would inform the writing of a heritage bylaw if this were to go to council. Heritage attributes of this property include the masonry construction with parged exterior, the H-shaped gable roof with highly pitched gables, the decorative barge boards in those gables, the flat-headed and semicircular window openings, the central entrance, and the gable roof front porch with the ornate wooden decorations. Its key contextual attributes include its moderate setback from Dundas Street, with front lawn and walkway to the front entrance. Staff recommend that the city clerk be directed to give notice of council's intention to designate the subject property as a property of cultural heritage value under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. Of course, we open it to any questions.
Thank you for that presentation, Scott. Do we have any questions in regards to the report? No questions? Sounds good. May I have a mover and a seconder to receive the presentation?
I see Lynn and Graham.
And as we vote to receive the presentation, is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, that item is carried. We'll now move on to the report. So may I have a mover and a seconder to put the report recommendations on the floor? The recommendations that Scott had
See
presented.
Graham and Stefan.
Are there any questions in
Sorry,
regards
Andy.
to the, is there any questions in regards to the report itself? Seeing none, as we move on to vote, is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, that item is carried. Thank you, everyone. We now move on to item 8.2, which is the recommendation to designate 291 King Street West in Dundas under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act, PED 24116 and Ward 13. So we have Marissa Barris, Cultural Heritage Planning Technician, is here to give a presentation.
Hello, my name is Marissa Barris, Cultural Heritage Planning Technician with Report PED 24-116, staff's recommendation to designate 291 King Street West, Dundas. The property at 291 King Street West is comprised of a 1.5-story stone cottage constructed circa 1849 located near the northwest corner of King Street West and Peel Street North in Dundas. The property was originally surveyed for heritage interest in the 1990s, but no action was taken at that time. And in September 2023, staff received a request from the owner to designate the property. After conducting a site visit on October 11th, 2023, and conducting an evaluation of the property in accordance with Ontario Regulation 906, staff determined the property met criteria for designation. On April 22nd, 2024, staff advised the owner of the heritage evaluation and recommendation to designate, at which point the owner indicated that they were still interested in designation. Here you can see a summary of the staff evaluation, which determined that the property meets 5 of the 9 criteria for designation, which I'll go into more detail on. The property meets 1 of the 3 design criteria, having value as a representative example of a vernacular stone workers' cottage. The 1.5-story dwelling features a rectangular footprint, a side gable roof with returning eaves and brick chimneys, a symmetrical front facade, a wood door with original doorbell hardware, a facade of local Whirlpool sandstone and side elevations of broken coarse fieldstone, and window and door openings with cut stone voussoirs and stone lug sills. The sympathetic 3-window front gabled dormer and rear wing additions were completed in the late 20th century, before 1994, and do not contribute to the property's heritage value. The property was not determined to display a high degree of craftsmanship or artistic merit, nor a high degree of technical or scientific achievement. The property has been determined to meet 2 of the historical and associative criteria. During the mid-19th century, Dundas was a thriving industrial center with many people residing in the downtown close to their places of employment. 291 King Street West is an example of a typical stone worker dwelling from this time and was originally built by William Pearson circa 1849. By 1853, it was affiliated with Patrick Quinn, who used it as one of several rental properties he owned over his lifetime in Dundas. Quinn was an Irish immigrant and grocer who served as Dundas's tax collector from 1855 to 1862. In 1864, the town of Dundas brought forward a lawsuit against Quinn for having failed to appropriately collect taxes, at which point the town disputed Quinn's ownership of the property. This case had long-standing impacts on 19th century Dundas's municipal government proceedings and politics, impacting local financial decisions until the late 1860s at the very least. The next recorded property owner, Margaret Conley, is first listed in 1869. She was an unmarried Irish immigrant and shopkeeper who had business affiliations with Quinn as early as 1861. Conley is believed to have inherited Quinn's properties as a result of his legal dispute with the town, and over her life, she managed several properties on King, Napier, Peel, Colburn, and Hat Streets in Dundas, as well as a grocery store. As an unmarried businesswoman in a time where most women were dependent on their spouses for financial and social security, Conley's affiliation with the building offers unique insight into women's history in the industrial era Dundas. And here are some images of some of the documents about Conley and Quinn. The property's 19th century tenants also offer insight into the history of working class people and the history of growth and immigration in Dundas. As a result, the property contributes to an understanding of working class immigrants, particularly tradespeople and women. The property also contributes to an understanding of 19th century local governance proceedings. The property is not considered to demonstrate the worker ideas of an architect, artist, builder, designer, or theorist significant to the community. Again, the property meets 2 criteria for contextual value, having historical and contextual value in its role maintaining the historic working class residential character of downtown Dundas, and as the first building to have been erected on its block. The property is also historically and visually linked to its surroundings, located along the prominent historic transportation corridor of King Street West. The dwelling's shallow setback grants it a high degree of visibility in the immediate streetscape, and is one of several buildings in the area owned by Patrick Quinn and later Margaret Conley. It has additional historical and contextual connections with similar properties in the area. It is not considered to be a landmark. You can see here a short summary of the criteria for your reference with a full version of the Statement of Cultural Heritage Value Interest available in Appendix B of Staff Report PED 24-116. And here is a summary list of the heritage features identified to be included in the designation. It's important to note that the recent dormer addition to the roof is not considered to be of heritage interest and is excluded from this list. Questions?
Thank you, Marissa. Do we have any questions in regards to the presentation? Go ahead, Graham.
Excellent presentation. Thank you very much. Really learned a lot about the property. I think it could be argued there is some artistic merit with the stone voussoirs over the windows and the cut stone for the era, because it was on more than just the facade. A lot of those older houses had rubble stone on the sides. So it could be argued either which way, but that's a personal point of view. I was also happy to hear the property owner approach the city to be designated. I wish more property owners would do that, not fight us, because that home definitely deserves the protection of the designation.
Are there any other questions? If not, may I have a mover and a seconder to receive the presentation?
I see Stefan and Graham.
And as we move to vote, is there anyone opposed to receiving? Seeing none, that item is carried. We'll now move on to the report. May I have a mover and a seconder to put the report recommendations on the floor? Those are the recommendations Marissa
I
has
see
outlined for
Andrew
us.
and Lynn.
Are there any questions in regards to the report? Seeing none, as we move on to vote, is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, that item is carried. We'll now move on to 9.1, which is our delegated approvals. May have a mover and a seconder to put items 9.1, 9.2, 9.3 on the floor. So that is our Heritage Permit Review Subcommittee meeting minutes, working group meeting notes, and delegated approvals for heritage permit applications.
I see Andrew and Stefan.
Do we have any questions in regards to any of those items? Seeing none, as we move on to vote, is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, that item is carried. Item 9.4 is an update on Bill 139, Schedule 14, Less Red Tape, More Common Sense Act 2023, and amendments to the Ontario Heritage Act and the Heritage Permit requirements for alterations to the Part 4 designated properties, for alterations to Part 4 designated properties with buildings used for religious practices, PED 23253A, citywide. May I have a mover and a seconder to put item 9.4 on the floor?
I see Andrew and Lynn.
And are there any questions or is there any discussion in regards to that item? If not, we'll move on to vote. As we move to vote on receiving the report, is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, that item is carried. 9.5 is Bill 200, Schedule 2, Homeowner Protection Act 2024, and proposed changes to the Ontario Heritage Act for properties listed on the Municipal Heritage Register, PED 24127, citywide. May I have a mover and a seconder to put 9.5 on the floor?
I see Andy and Stefan.
And is there any discussion on this item? Alyssa, go ahead.
Through the chair, Alyssa Golden, Cultural Heritage Program Lead. So in front of you today is an information report regarding Bill 200, having received royal assent. When we originally started drafting this information report, it was about a commenting period. That commenting period is since closed and the bill has been passed and is in effect. So there's no longer any opportunity to comment, although staff have provided some feedback in terms of the changes that have been made to the Ontario Heritage Act. Generally positive. We do have an extension of the original deadline for properties that were listed on the register before Bill 23, as you may recall, and as we discuss every time we bring our high priority properties forward for designation. The deadline was previously January 1st, 2025, that all of those properties would be automatically delisted. We now have a bit of a reprieve that has been pushed to January 1st, 2027. So staff, as indicated in this information report, will be reporting back at the end of this year in terms of what that means for our high priority list and whether we might have opportunity to add additional properties to that high priority list to look at for designation before 2027. And I also just wanted to note, because I know there were a number of Heritage Committee members that had asked about what other municipalities were doing around trying to potentially remove properties from the register before voluntarily and maybe circumvent the delisting requirement. And I'll just note that Bill 200 closes that gap and indicates that that is not a strategy for trying to provide municipalities with more opportunity to maybe relist ones that we have already put on the register at a future date if a prescribed event comes up. So that gap has been closed by the province with these changes. So other municipalities who have taken that approach will need to address how they move forward with their own strategies. I'd be happy to answer any questions folks might have about the information.
Thank you, Alyssa. Do we have any questions? Go ahead, Graham.
Is the municipalities group still pushing for the ending of that delisting completely?
Through the chair, so as noted in the staff report, in terms of our staff perspective provided as a part of previous bills and other commenting opportunities with policy changes, we're not supportive of an expiry. I think it's contrary to the Planning Act, the current provincial policy statement, and limits municipalities' ability to proactively flag properties in order to be able to designate them when a prescribed event happens. So that is stated in the information report. In terms of next steps, there is no longer a commenting period on this bill, so there isn't an opportunity for us as a municipality to give any formal feedback on it. It is something, though, that continues to be discussed, obviously, amongst other municipal planners in Ontario.
Are there any other questions? Oh, go ahead, Andy.
Through the chair, just curious on how this affects the possible expansion of heritage districts, not necessarily specific properties, but Part 5 of the Heritage Act. Just curious if there's any further update on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Yes, through the chair. So also noted in this information report is that the extra 2 years in reprieve on delisting does give us an opportunity to also look at new heritage districts to capture some of the areas of concentrations of listed properties that we've flagged through our proactive built heritage inventory work so far, and that we will be reporting back in the coming months in terms of a strategy for that potential district work moving forward. Right now, we don't have dedicated staff to be leading heritage conservation districts, and it's something that we'll need to report back on in terms of resources to be able to accomplish that type of strategy.
If there's no further questions, we have our mover and our seconder. We'll move to vote to receive this report. Is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, that item is carried. We move now on to our general information and other business. 13.1 is our buildings and landscapes. So we have our list before us. Are there any additions to that list anyone would like to make? Are there any reports anybody would like to make on properties? We can get our speakers list started. No updates? Okay, all right. May I have a mover and a seconder just to receive that item? And as we move to,
I see Graham and Andrew.
And as we move to vote, is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, that item is carried. So I'm going to turn the chair over to the chair.
This is item 13.2. Alyssa Dana Robinson is our chair is going to provide a verbal update on the Hamilton Municipal Heritage Committee's Heritage Recognition Awards celebration that we held on June 13th at Bridgeworks.
So we had a great event. We had a terrific response. We had over 125 people in attendance at our awards. I think overall it was a great event for everyone. We had such great positive feedback from everyone. I know there was a lot of happy and unexpected award winners. They were thrilled that they were actually getting some recognition. And it wasn't just for properties, it was a number of projects and different groups that were receiving it. And we were giving them acknowledgement that they don't do this work for the acknowledgement. So to have an event where they could say a few words and get some of those accolades for the work that they were doing, I know they really did appreciate it. There's a few thank yous that we just want to make sure that we extend. We want to thank Mayor Horvath, Councillor Kretsch, Councillor Alex Wilson, and Councillor Kazar for attending the night. They were a part of all of the award presentations, getting their photos taken with the various award recipients. So they made that very special time for those recipients. We want to thank Ken Coit for bringing greetings from the planning department and all of the city staff who were in attendance. It was, we appreciate it so much that you came out to be a part of that event with us. We want to thank especially Alyssa Golden and Emily Bent from the Heritage Planning team for all of the help that they did through the planning process and even up to that night, helping us get things set up and make sure that we were prepared for receiving all of those award recipients. Thank you to Wilf Arndt, who volunteered to be our photographer for the evening. He just gave us the photos, so I can't wait to see those, and we'll be sharing those with everybody. And also, we want to thank the members of our Municipal Heritage Committee and especially our Education Working Group for all the work that they did throughout that process, whether it was doing research for the various properties and groups, whether it was actually putting the award packages together and being there that night to do presentations. So I want to specifically thank Janice Brown and her sister Linda, Graham Carroll, Stefan Spalnick, Karen Burke, Lynn Ludstead, Julie Renaud, Kristen McLaughlin, and Sarah Sandham for all their help. Okay. And if anyone would like to share any comments about the awards,
This is like my fourth awards I've been attending at, and they're getting better and better. The venue at Bridgeworks is perfect for our needs. Lots of parking, lots of open room. People can mingle and talk and listen to them about their properties. It's really good walking around before the event, talking to the award winners, and they get to express how much they are so happy to get this, or unexpected, like Pitch. They're just blown away that they even got nominated. And one of the special ones was the Birch Salon, the husband and wife team from there that described it. And then they talked about how they bought a wreck of a property and restored it to the beautiful condition that it now is, and how much they love the home. And then the little reach out at the end where she mentioned about Baconi's. She used to shop there when she was a child with her mother, and remembered the grandfather that used to own it, standing there with a stern look out in front of the building. It was quite interesting. I urge everyone from the committee and staff and council to come to our event next year so they can actually get to see it. It's quite an amazing night and well worth it.
And just one thing to add to, we'll be updating, we'll be sending a package to Emily. She'll be doing some coordination so that we can get the website for the Heritage Awards updated with our current award recipients from this past year. And so we'll have descriptions and photos of those various properties.
Anybody else want to comment? Go ahead, Ken.
Through the chair, Ken Coit, Director of Heritage and Urban Design. I just want to extend our congratulations to Chair Denham Robinson and the whole team for a great event. So on behalf of Acting GM Robichaud, Acting Chief Planner and Director Fayback, Acting Manager Jana Kalman, and of course, Program Lead Golden, and the rest of the Heritage staff, excellent job. It was wonderful to attend. And as we noted at the event, Chair Denham Robinson has been doing this for 16 years, getting better and better each year. So congratulations again. Thank you for all your work, and we look forward to next year.
Anybody else? Okay, put a motion to receive this report.
I see Stefan and Andy.
Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes. Do the next one too? Okay, so now we're gonna have Alyssa's gonna do another update for the Heritage Recognition Awards for 2025.
So the website is live. If anyone, we've already actually started receiving some more nominations. So if anyone knows of a property or a group or anything that falls within the categories that we have listed on the website for the Municipal Heritage Awards, please feel free to get those submissions in. What we're trying to do is set a public deadline of September 15th. Again, we have a little bit of extra time for committee members to get those in, or if staff have any recommendations. But please let any of the groups know, anybody that you know, that that deadline for public nominations is September 15th, and they can get those submitted online.
Go ahead.
Sorry, just a quick question, being new to this. As far as nominations go for next year, does it have to be a property or work that's happening from now until next year? Or can it be work that, or heritage property that hasn't had any work done on it in quite a while? Like, what's the?
So we want to recognize excellence in heritage. So if it's a property that they don't have to be undergoing work currently, but if they're demonstrating that it's a beautiful home and they've done work previously, they don't have to have done, but it's just upkeep and maintenance, and you're more than welcome to get
Awesome,
those nominations. Yeah. If there is a heritage project that's ongoing, we generally try to say that it should be complete by the time we're making that award, the final decision on our nominations. We have held back some awards previously just because the work wasn't 100% completed. So we just try to at least make sure that overall the work is done on an ongoing construction project or renovation project.
And also, it doesn't have to be a house that's on the register or designated, like that 67 Rosedine today. It's just a really well-maintained house. It's not even on the inventory. It's just a really well-maintained house. I haven't seen any major work done in that in a couple of years. They just found out the front porch was refinished, but that was done after they were nominated. So just, if you see a house in your neighborhood that you think people will lovingly take care of it, that's all it has to be.
I may have some ideas on.
I have a motion to receive this report.
I see Andy and Lynn.
Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion passed.
So I'm going to take back chair just for our next item, but then I may jump in with some comments. So 13.4 is our Ontario Heritage Conference update. I'll let Graham go first, as I know he was really excited to provide a report.
Okay, so we went up to Gravenhurst to attend the Heritage Conference. The amount of volunteers and the staff there, like from the city of Graven or town of Gravenhurst, did a great job. They kept things moving for the most part. Unfortunately, we had a bit of a conflict in one of the things I wanted to attend, which was the small working group dealing with the registry of all things. So it was led by Tamara Anson Cartwright. My previous event, which was the Indigenous Museum, ran long and I missed the first half. And I caught part of their strategy that they're using to maintain homes in a little, or built heritage, and proving that how property owners will have to provide heritage reports on all properties. But I didn't catch quite all the way through, and I didn't get a chance to talk to Tamara Anson Cartwright until after. So hopefully, I'm going to follow up with Alyssa Golden and see if we can contact them and find out exactly what she was talking about.
I'm just passing the chair back to Graham. So the conference, they did a great job of having a mix of learning sessions, and then they had walking tours of their wharf area. They had boat tours, they had bus tours, looking at their aspect of what makes them unique from a heritage perspective. Little Norway and their airport and their links internationally, looking at waterfront development and how their heritage is being incorporated with their tourism component in Gravenhurst. So they did an excellent job of that. They took us downtown for their historic downtown village district. So we got to see a little bit of everything from what they have to offer from Gravenhurst. One of the sessions that I was able to attend was called Preserving Potential Through Understanding and Maintenance. And what they were really trying to do is take a step forward in proactive maintenance on heritage building too often you're seeing heritage buildings that get to that point where it's too costly to maintain, so we might as well demolish. So the guest speakers that they had available for the conference there looked at what you can do when a heritage property has been painted for years. How do you not have to see that building demolished or significant effects made on that property? They had an engineer that was involved looking at how you can do renovations using the Ontario Building Code, but still maintaining heritage components to that. And then that preventative maintenance. They gave examples of in New York where they actually have to do facade inspections as part of their development planning. So every 5 years, they're doing a small assessment up front so that they're not having to do a major construction that's looking at millions of dollars and maybe could lead to the demolition of a heritage property. So that was one session that was, really significant and touches on some of the things that we experience as a Municipal Heritage Committee. They are going to be providing the resources on the Ontario Heritage Conference website. As soon as those become active and we can share those with you, then we'll get those resources to everybody so that you can see those learning sessions. No.
Are there any questions on the reports? Okay, may I have a motion to receive the update?
I see Stefan and Lynn.
Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries.
Thank you, Graham. Do we have any updates from staff? Ken?
Through the chair, just wanted to say, at the last meeting in May, I had indicated that we have a new heritage student. He was starting the following Monday, so we now have Luke Marlott with us, who's here today. So really great to have him on board and to have that support to our team.
Welcome to the team. I'm sure they're keeping you very busy. Do we have any other new business? If there's no items, may I have a motion, a mover and a seconder for adjournment?
Too many options.
Everybody raises their hand.
I see Graham and Stefan.
That's great. And is there anyone opposed? Obviously not, no. So thank you, everyone. And so our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, July 22nd at 12 o'clock.